Coming up, a Sad Styles production. Get into it.
So Eternal Darkness, have you played this game?
I have not.
Well, get ready for a treat, my friend.
Yeah,
you know, this is one of the most requested games we've ever had.
Really?
Absolutely. People, because I think it's one of those games that was very critically well received.
Yeah.
Did not sell well.
Okay.
And when people demanded a remake happen, it just never happened.
Really?
So people, like, those types of games that exist, people are always kind of like really leaning on us to do it. Or they get some more taboo in the zeitgeist or something like that for two words that I'm not even sure I know how to use properly.
Yeah. Well, Taboo Zeitgeist was like it was a sex club I went to in Reno.
Oh, I thought that was one of the starfighters that got shot down in the Battle of the Death Star.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, or a pod racer or something like that.
Yeah, I think Taboo Zeitgeist was it's an underwater city just off Scotland.
Oh,
yeah.
Taboo Zeitgeist, I kind of thought was it's I don't know if you've been to one of these restaurants,
right?
But the German fusion restaurants.
Oh, Taboo Zeitgeist.
It's Taboo Zeitgeist.
I like that. Yeah. That's good. I thought, you know what's funny, because we just painted a wall and I think we used Taboo Zeitgeist in the bathroom.
Oh, so you're spraying the cologne Taboo Zeitgeist, or is this a paint color?
No, that was a paint color. No, and that's different.
And
that's different than the romance novel that I bought at the drugstore the other day.
Oh,
Taboo Zeitgeist.
Who was on the cover? Fabio.
Mikey.
So
Come on.
Fabio.
You know what's ironic though? Mikey. It was Fabio and the bird.
Oh, the goose.
They're finally.
Fabio
Yeah,
the
he's all they're bearing the past. They're making up. Welcome to the Retrograde
podcast where we remind you what you used to love and whether or not you still should.
I'm Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
My keys jangling in the night, Aaronworth.
Very scary.
Yeah.
That is, of course, Mikey Aaronworth, and we are back for the second week of Retrograde. Very scary.
Andrew, you should warn me when you're going to lean into that, because I nearly pissed myself.
Because I scared you so bad?
Yeah, when you say Retrograde, it reminds me that we're about to, and I just did it to you, and I apologize for that. I should know better.
Scariest words in podcasting.
If it's worth anything to you,
yeah,
I'm equally as scared when I say it myself.
Right. Okay.
And for the listener who's unaware, or the viewer who's watching,
yeah, it's a 69 of fearing. Sorry. Sorry.
Real double-edged sword, which is a saying I've never understood.
Aren't all swords double-edged?
All swords are double-edged, and I think what they mean is that, like, the handle is a blade as well, but that's not what a double-edged sword is.
Oh.
It would be like a double-sided sword.
It cuts both ways, which is also another expression now that I think about it. But
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Hey,
Wow.
the English language is complicated.
English language is bizarre. We should all speak Italian. It's the easiest language in the world.
Similes? Explain that. What the hell's going on here?
Tatalon.
Yeah, there we go.
That's Simoleon.
That's Simoleon,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Someone's got to bring home the Simoleons around here.
Do you remember that movie where Tom Cruise got abducted by the Sims, all the Simoleons?
I don't remember that. What was that all about?
Yeah, Captain Phillips, but like all this, I haven't seen it, but I heard that the Sims were
You mean
just...
Tom Hanks, right?
That's what I said.
No, you said Tom Cruise, I think. Well, that's a good start to Retrograde. We're back for the second week. You know, obviously, if you are new, welcome. But this is the Retrograde is where we play scary games.
Scary games.
Because it's the scariest month of the year.
We're capping off September, which we mentioned. Just a glorious, fun-loving month of video games, Simpsons, and everything you could possibly expect. One of our most successful months ever.
Yes.
And now here we are scaring the piss out of ourselves with a game called Eternal Darkness.
Very scary.
Now, this is honestly one of our most recommended games and requested games of all time.
Right.
And we're happy to finally do it. It's only taken us 3 years. We've built up the courage to do so. Now, if you're new to this podcast, maybe you're listening because you Googled Eternal Darkness and you want to listen to us talk about it. Well,
Eternal Darkness remake, why not? You Google that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
You know how people Google stuff and it makes no sense?
That's going to be the title of... Yeah, all syntax and grammar is out the window when you do a Google search.
Yeah, you're just doing SEO stuff of just Fraser Crane salary? Question mark?
Scrambled eggs? Question mark. How many?
Tossed salad and scrambled eggs? Scrambled salad and tossed eggs?
Now, if you're new to this podcast and you just found us, first of all, welcome.
Hey.
Typically, what we like to do on the podcast is take a look back at the games that we used to play when we were kids. Usually, it's something that had an effect on us one way or another. We rate and review the game as we remember it back when we played it as little children.
Right.
Then we take a little bit of a break. We play the game, play you some of the audio or the video if you're watching over on YouTube, and then we come back and rate and review the game as it holds up in the modern day. Sounds like a great premise, right?
It does sound like a good
It sounds like a
premise.
premise that you could fill easily an hour and a half with, talking just about the game, right?
Yeah.
That's not how we do it.
No.
We like to take a swift left turn,
Stupid
much
idiots.
to the chagrin of some of our anonymous iTunes reviewers, and talk a little bit of nonsense for a while.
Speaking of September, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this week we're taking a little bit of left turn, and I have a question for you, Andrew.
Oh, I'd love to answer it.
One of our favorite shows is back on the air right now, and it's called What We Do in the Shadows. Now, it sounds like a much scarier show than it is, but I think it's fitting.
Well, I don't know. It's a show about vampires.
Yeah, and
Pretty
vampires
scary.
are very scary.
Very scary.
What is your before we get into What We Do in the Shadows, what is the scariest traditional monster you can think of?
Well, we do have our draft every year in Retrograde, and I think everyone that has heard previous Retrograves knows the answer, of course, is Swamp Thing.
No, Swamp Thing isn't a monster. He's a DC villain.
You would never say that to his face. I think he's very scary.
I'm talking Frankenstein's, Dracula's. I'm talking vampires, mummies.
Okay.
Wolfmans.
Yes.
What is the scariest of like the?
Okay. I think the answer would be. Yeah, is it vampires? I think it might be vampires because they're so fucking sexy, and I don't mean that as a joke, like a Twilight joke. I mean that like they entice you with like romanticism and like please come in and let's have a drink, and then they make you fall in love with each other and stuff like. Wolfman's just like hey, I'm a Wolfman. Like okay, well that's scary for another reason, but the one that's like completely complicit in the idea of trying to kill you or trying to whatever, that's much scarier to me. Also, the ceremony of the whole thing is very scary.
Yeah, the idea of someone biting my neck. I know a lot of people are into that.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah.
I don't love it. Once someone bit my nipple, and I was like,
hard?
Well, yeah.
Did it draw blood?
It didn't draw blood, but I was
you might
like,
have had a vamp in your situation there.
Is that what they go for instead of the neck?
Yeah. They're like ooh, sweet
Nipple
nips.
is the second best one. You have one nipple, two nipple.
What kind of favorite pizza is mine? Pepperoni. Mummies milkers.
His milkers. No, my answer, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Would be I was in Egypt once, and I went to a museum.
No way you're gonna say mummy.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Seeing mummies in real life,
Yeah.
I was scared. I don't know why. I knew they were dead a long time.
Well, it's a dead person.
They don't even have brains in them.
Did the entrance to the museum, did the tour guide go, want to see a dead body? And they're like, come to the beautiful, Cairo Museum.
After that, I remember they had fog machines and yeah, all the Egyptologists loved it. They pivoted. They're trying to do something new
It's
now.
a bright red light just going. Like those really cheap haunted houses you used to go to. Like you get to that and somebody just going, and you're like, what the hell? That's not fair.
Someone chased me around with a chainsaw for a while.
Oh, I think we talked about that. Yeah.
Oh, what? How much?
You've been chased around with a chainsaw.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true as well. But I'm just talking more in general, like seeing a mummy in person.
Yes.
Was legitimately scary when I did it.
Right.
So I have to imagine that, maybe I've seen a vampire. I just didn't know it.
Well, that's pretty scary. The thought of that's
a
pretty scary.
thought.
They're hiding among us.
I've seen a lot of bats as well.
Yeah.
They're hiding in the vents among us. And that's how you know. That's
we
how
do in
you
the
know it's a
shadows.
vampire.
Mummies milkers? Is that something? Is that something?
I think that spout's pretty dry, but yeah, maybe.
What is the least scary of all the things you just said? Which is the
Well,
least?
you said Wolfman. I would straight up pet a Wolfman.
Pet?
Yeah,
Oh,
because
I don't
it's
know.
not
Your
a
hand's not coming back.
it's not a werewolf. I think about the Wolfman like the traditional Wolfman.
What? Okay, what's the difference? What's a traditional
Well,
wolf?
a werewolf is like basically a man who turns into a wolf, or a woman
Yes.
who turns into a wolf, and they're fast and agile. But the Wolfman in old Hollywood, where he's basically just a hairy faced dude with fangs.
Yes.
And he's like, man, I just want to catch a game or something like that.
Oh, so he's still like sentient.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of Michael J. Fox,
Maybe you're thinking of Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
Yes, who is very good at basketball too.
So that's not Wolfman, that's Wolf Teen.
it's Wolf Teen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he hasn't graduated to Wolf Man yet.
No, not yet, but he will.
But if he sticks at it, puts in that practice. I think you're right. But then again, I think we're also describing just Mr. Hyde. Like, isn't that kind of what Mr. Hyde did?
I don't think Mr. Hyde was a wolf.
But he was very hairy and he had like teeth.
Yeah, I think he was more of like a mutant.
Yeah, well,
I think the hair was because Dr. Jekyll had mutton chops, and that's just an extension of those.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I hope mutton chops don't come back. But on that note, I'm glad that What We Do in the Shadows came back.
Okay.
Have you caught up at all in this season?
I've seen every episode.
Good. I just watched an episode where I think I'm a little bit behind, but I just watched an episode where they went to Atlantic City.
The funniest episode.
It's maybe one of the funniest episodes.
Oh, God, it made me laugh.
There's a moment where, if you're not familiar with What We Do in the Shadows, it's produced by Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement. I don't know how much of the writing they're doing anymore.
It feels like Jermaine Clement is very involved.
Yeah, but they, it was based on a movie, and now it's a
Their
TV
movie, yeah.
series in the third season.
It's the third season, yeah.
Third season, and it's equally as good, if not better than the movie. And that's not to disparage the movie, but it's taken on a life of its own with different characters, and I love every second of it. It's kind of a mockumentary style about vampires living in Manhattan or something.
Yeah, it's New York, Manhattan. Yeah.
But in this episode, they go to Atlantic City, and there's a moment where Nandor, who fancies himself the leader of the house, and he's like this old war general
like
or
Attila the
something.
Hun
Yeah,
type?
basically. And he's talking to someone who basically explains to him, because he's obsessed with a Big Bang Theory slot machine, and then he's like what is the Big Bang? and and the guy said, and then it just smash cuts to Nandor just sitting there like wide eyed, like, and in an instant my worldview was shaken to its core.
Your Nandor is very good.
Fucking Jesus. That's my favorite way to describe it.
So he's playing a slot machine of Big Bang Theory. And so they keep going like, bazinga, and like all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yay, bazinga, I got it. And then later goes, that show, like thinking it's all fiction. And then one of the other vampires is like, no, the Big Bang happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And so he keeps pointing back to like what he thought was happening in the world.
They're basically drawing on the walls, like just in the hotel room, explaining what the Big Bang Theory is, and he's explaining Nandor is what his like the equivalent of like Norse mythology, where it's all like 4 elephants standing on the back of a turtle.
Yes.
And
the earth is on that. That's how it rotates. And then he just goes, and then he's like, but where's the elephants? He's like, you need to stop drawing elephants. He's like, okay, but if the tortoise was really big, I guess I didn't need the elephants. And you're like, he's like, please stop doing that. It was so funny.
That was such a funny premise, man. I love that show so much, and I'm so glad it's back.
Yeah.
I want to check in with you as well about the other two. You watching that?
I'm not watching it, as it has not been airing in Canada yet. And
is that true?
And I've been respecting the laws of the land.
Yes.
So
same.
So I can't wait to watch that when it comes.
I can't believe it hasn't been airing in
I know, it's
Canada
kind of
yet.
stupid.
That's
I don't know
really
what the lead time is on it, but
there's one moment that really fucked me up, because I have I've been watching on a service that allows me to watch it. I subscribe to Crave, so by all intent, Crave is the Canadian HBO Now or Go or whatever
distributor.
It is, it has HBO, so I feel like I have the right to watch this show just because I'm a Canadian. Respect my rights. But there's like the 4th episode of the season. The very first episode of that entire series. This is, again, the other two. It's a TV show on HBO about the brother and sister of a Justin Bieber type person and how they live up. The show begins, season 1, episode 1, where someone wakes up on an air mattress in a gorgeous loft in New York City and then starts to scramble, and you realize she's staying there because she's a real estate agent. She knows that the house isn't being shown. Episode 4 of the season starts with basically that exact same scene. So I got to episode 4, but it's kind of turning it on its head. I got to episode 4 and just assumed that the stream I was watching was looping back to the original episode. And I was like, what? Why can't I find episode 4? And then finally realized literally 3 weeks later that because I watched through it, and I'm like, is there any chance I'm just misremembering a bit? So that was kind of fun.
Nice. Yeah. I'm excited to watch it. It was so funny that first season, and touching too. That I'm so excited to watch it again.
It's a great one. It's a great one. Andrew, now that we're in the scariest month of the year, what are you doing to kind of cozy on up to your fear molecules? Are you doing anything?
Cozy on up to my fear
cozy
molecules.
on up to your fear molecules.
Oh, wow.
You watch any scary movies? Because I know last year you basically watched a scary movie every day.
Yes, we did. Last year I wasn't working because of the pandemic. I don't know if everyone's ever heard about this. It's the novel coronavirus, and these are unprecedented times.
My favorite novel of all time, actually.
Really? Is that your favorite novel of all time? What's second?
Push by Sapphire.
Push by Sapphire. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, it's almost like I knew it. So okay.
Did I mention the Da Vinci Code?
Is that 3?
That's a hard one for me, actually.
Interesting.
I forgot about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll always be the Bible for me. So, the King James version specifically. Yeah, no, last year I had time on my hands. Like, it was obviously a horrible time. We're still in a horrible time.
Yeah.
But I was able to watch a horror movie a day.
Yes.
For October, and it would really set the mood for my fear molecules that I was cozying up to.
Yeah.
This year I will not have as much time.
Okay.
But I am trying to do it so in a very nerdy thing that I love, the Criterion Collection, which I subscribe to, and I recommend everyone else do too because it's just the best. And every time I talk to somebody, it's like I'm describing how I perform self-surgery. Like people are always like, yeah, oh, cool, awesome. Okay, that's really great. That's good for you, man. I'm glad you're doing great. It's the Criterion Collection is just so, the curation of it, I just love it. It brings like that art house feel of a cinema to home, and like that's the stuff that really interests me. And so this year they have their Halloween collection, and I just can't wait to dive my teeth in it. Like a real vamp.
That's real. That's real on the nose.
Yeah.
Don't dive your teeth on the nose. This isn't a Michelle Pfeiffer in the Penguin situation.
I'm sorry. You're gonna have to do that one more time for me.
I said don't dive your teeth into the nose. This isn't a Michelle Pfeiffer and the Penguin situation.
Don't dive your teeth into the nose. Does she bite someone's nose off in that movie?
I mean, following that logic, it may be the Penguin's nose.
Penguin's
Danny
nose.
DeVito's.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Don't you remember that? She like bites Danny DeVito's nose off.
I maybe it's been a while, too long since I've seen that movie.
It's been as equally as long for me, but that has lived in my head in infinity.
There was a really good clip about Batman Returns. It hit the internet like about a year ago, whatever. But when Michelle Pfeiffer uses the whip and she does it in one take, and you could even hear the cast and crew when they go cut, everyone's like, whoa, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was really cool.
What the hell is that? Oh, Criterion Collection. So last month was the New York series, and there was a great series of movies on that. And you know what the best part is, and what makes me hate, like I'm not going to do this thing where I know how much of an asshole I'm going to sound like, but is what I miss about modern movies is we don't get movies made like this anymore because it's just like, it needs to be such like crowd pleasing. Like there's a conclusion. Everyone walks out happy.
Right.
Whereas these movies were like just art movies where it's like, what was it? I don't even know. Like, was there a plot? Kind of.
Sure.
Like, I think he lost his job.
Yeah.
And then he kind of went crazy. And you're like, and that's just the movie. And I miss that thing where it's just like a really good actor and a really good director just work together on something.
Yeah.
And there are like tons of movies I just didn't even know were made, like with Meryl Streep, like a really good actor, or, like James Caan or something like that. And he's just like, what kind of movie was that? That was crazy. And I love that. It's just so relaxing. And so I'm very excited for the idea, especially some of the creature features from like the 50s and stuff like that, that I get to watch that. So I will keep you updated.
Keep me updated. I watched a similar movie to that called The Card Counter with Oscar Isaac. I fucking love Oscar Isaac. I'll watch him in everything.
Is that your favorite actor working today?
I think he is. Yeah. I'm fascinated by the guy.
Is your style icon too?
In Inside Llewyn Davis, maybe.
There we go. Have you watched? Was it Scenes from a Marriage?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
I'm not looking forward to it. It's two really good actors doing a very famous TV series.
Yes,
and I think it was a play, and they're going to recreate him. Like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. Like, it's just not going to be fun though.
I have that feeling as well. Yeah. I will watch it eventually, but I want to watch more scary movies first.
100%. What was the card counter like? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it was good, but it had that kind of art house feel where it ended, and I was like, objectively that wasn't a good ending. Like there was so much open, and it skipped a lot to get to an ending it thought it wanted to get to. And but I recommend watching it because everything up to the last 10 minutes is phenomenal.
Card counter.
The Card Counter. Yeah.
It's a poker movie, right?
It's kind of it's a poker movie in the way that Drive is a heist movie. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Because that is kind of the premise of it. But there's while those things do happen, it's not what the movie's about.
Right.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that works well.
And I like that.
I like that.
So we were tweeting out recently, we are going to probably save this for another time because it's not very fitting for Retrograde.
Right.
But The Many Saints of Newark is out now. And I just want to say that I'm very excited by it.
Yes.
And I can't wait to talk about it at length.
Yes. Maybe that'll be a Mushroom Club because it's just going to be bubbling over. Eventually, we just have... The Mushroom Club, by the way, is our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/the Retrograde podcast. It's called The Mushroom Club. It's $5 a month. I was thinking today, if you like this podcast and you're working your way through the backlog, we've had a couple of you reach out and say that you just finished going through our entire catalog.
We get
Thank
that
you so much.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
But if there's more that you're looking for, we now have, I mean, we've been doing it for almost a year of, 2 to 4 episodes per month. We have like 25 new episodes on our Patreon account, and it's only growing. It's growing every month. So if you're interested in that, especially if you like this portion of the podcast, where we just kind of talk nonsense, which would be our cue, I think, because I think a lot of people are going to be cluing in to talk about this game, this week's game, Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. That's a long time, Mikey.
Sanity's Requiem.
Is that what the colon is?
That is the colon. There's
Sanity's Requiem.
Sanity's Requiem, developed by Silicon Knights, published by Nintendo. But can I be honest? I have no idea what a Requiem is. It sounds great, and I know that it's in the title of cool things sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if anyone who uses it in a title knows for sure what a Requiem is.
I'm not sure I know what it means either. Is it like, actually, I have no idea.
Yeah, right? We all think we do. It's the kind of thing that we will use.
Yeah.
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream.
Wow. I can't believe how much that dream had been requiemed.
Yeah. No one can deny it was a Requiem.
Requiem Olajuwon.
Requiem Olajuwon, of course.
Requiem the Dream.
Yes.
Olajuwon.
Honestly, I don't have much for it. I'm so lost on the title. I don't like Sanity's Requiem, by the way. It just, in my head, I'm like, ugh, no, I do not like that.
This game does have a lot to do with sanity, which I want to get into in a little bit here.
Spooky.
But for those of you who aren't familiar, Eternal Darkness, a bit of a left turn this episode. Eternal Darkness actually is an EP by Battery, released in 1991 by Cop International, considered to be industrial rock, similar to that of Depeche Mode. And this extended play is only 16 minutes and 22 seconds. So make sure to go out to your local record store and buy Eternal Darkness.
Okay.
Just kidding.
The EP.
This is an example of a play on sanity.
Like
this game would do.
Because
there was a disambiguation article in the Wikipedia page that said Eternal Darkness. And it was this weird, that's the thing. So what I wanted to do to the listener was make
Was that a Requiem?
That was a Requiem.
Oh, okay. I get it.
That was specifically a Requiem for sanity, a Sanity's Requiem.
Okay.
But the game will do this. Eternal Darkness will do this all the time, where it makes you question whether the thing that you're experiencing is something you're supposed to be experiencing, or is the game playing tricks on you.
I love this kind of stuff.
Was Mikey just having another stroke on camera? It's happened before. Or was he masterminding? A self-reflective, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like you right now. You who's sitting there rubbing your eye, shaking your head.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah.
I put you in that situation.
Yeah. You are the real puppet master.
I
the
am.
Tinkerer,
if you will. The Tinkerer is my Batman villain.
It is your Batman villain, the Tinkerer.
Yeah. So I'm super pumped to talk about this game. I mentioned it came out June of 2002, developed by Silicon Knights, published by Nintendo, and interestingly, the first ever first-party game published by Nintendo that received an M rating.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's actually a nice little trivia question.
It is a nice trivia question, and it is impressive to think that it's in 2002, because, Nintendo is known for much lighter fare, but they did, have games on the Super Nintendo, which went through a pretty dark phase at times, and I feel like they could have had some guns. I mean, I think this is probably before the ESRB in a lot of cases, so maybe they wouldn't have had an M, but also kind of cool to think that they trusted a company like Silicon Knights of St. Catharines, Ontario.
Another one. We just did this last week, too.
How many Canadian video game companies there are out there? St. Catharines, Ontario. That's a great question. Why is anyone there?
Honestly, you're on notice, St. Catharines. It's such a regional joke, but look it up if you want to, but there's not going to be much there.
Now, I did want to mention Eternal Darkness so that everyone knows we're getting into talking about it, but I couldn't speak about Eternal Darkness without talking about Silicon Knights and without talking about Dennis Dyack, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
No.
So Silicon Knights is a company that has developed several games. They or I think people think they've done more than they actually did, but Eternal Darkness was kind of their big one. They also did Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, which is another, it's got blood in the title. That's rampant with Retrograde references.
Oh, God.
They did,
so spooky.
I mentioned Metal Gear Twin Snakes. That was the port of Metal Gear on the GameCube.
Oh, right.
So Nintendo had this good affinity towards it. They trusted Silicon Knights. But then there was a game that was announced called Too Human. And Too Human was actually announced prior to Eternal Darkness coming out. 1999, I think, was the first appearance of this game.
Goodness.
And the development cycle of this game, we were going to party like it was.
Yeah, exactly. I think LL Cool J and Prince had a lot to say about that.
I think they absolutely did.
1999, man. Great year.
Great year. And remember the party on New Year's?
Oh,
when we thought it was all going
We all
down?
thought it was it. You know, everyone started expressing all their deepest secrets, like a plane going down.
And we thought the world can't get worse than this.
Yes.
This is true. This is a true pandemic.
Yeah, and I think about that now as the peak of my life. Yeah. You know, at that time, I was like, oh, nothing's ever going to get worse from here.
Yeah.
Nope. That was the best part.
That was the best part.
Yeah.
That's what life is all about, is realizing that the moments you thought were the worst were actually way better than everything that was to come.
Yeah, that's a very negative way of thinking that you can survive anything. Like it's, you know, like you'll always get through it. Because remember, we thought we couldn't get through that last one.
Yeah, exactly.
We showed them.
It's just a hardening of the calluses, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Our true Mortal Shell, which is another game that I liked.
Yeah, Mortal Shell. Nice.
So this game with Too Human, it went through such a long development cycle from Nintendo to Sony to Microsoft, and it was kind of this thing of legend. And after Dennis Dyack of Silicon Knights started to get infamy for having done Eternal Darkness and having done a great job with it, and you know, Blood Omen Legacy of Kain also had kind of a cult following.
Loves that subcolon. Like loves the second title.
Metal Gear Twin Snakes.
Yeah, Blood Omen. Pretty scary title,
Yes.
right? And you're like, that's good, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, we need to make sure Kane's legacy is referenced in
Requiem
the title.
of Cain. The Requiem of Cain. So everyone now, he was one of the most vocal and recognizable names in the video game industry at that time. Like you had like the Cliff Blazinskis, and you had the Dennis
Cliff
Dyack, you had the
Blazinskis,
Peter Molyneuxs,
Yes.
and I would liken him to a Peter Molyneux, where he kept on promising the world. I remember he would get out there, he was so fucking cocky about how good this game Too Human was going to be. He took grants from the government of Ontario that he couldn't pay back.
Our taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars.
We helped finance Too Human.
We did.
Mikey and Andrew.
did,
welcome.
and you have us to thank for
It was
that.
a retrograde production.
And then Too Human comes out, and it is a nightmare. It is.
Okay, I am taking our name off of Too Human. We had nothing to do. That's official, okay?
And you'd have trouble even finding a copy of the game to take your name off of, because as a part of the release, Epic Games sued them for their use of the Unreal Engine. Now, the details of the lawsuit I'm not 100% familiar with, but they basically challenged the lawsuit. Silicon Knights did. They lost. And they were ordered to destroy all copies of Too Human and any other of their games that used the Unreal Engine.
It was a total recall.
It was a total recall. I mean, that
Pretty good.
would make a good game, actually.
Yeah, Total Recall. Total Recall would make an amazing game. They probably made one.
It's definitely out there.
But yeah,
it was almost like the modern day ET, like buried them in the landfill. Like it was crazy. And I was like, wow, that must mean this game is worth something, right?
100%.
I checked it on eBay. It's worth $50 new in box.
Oh.
Like, okay, this
Cool.
couldn't even fail hard enough to get like a. But anyway,
Are they all in like Dennis Dyack's like basement?
probably
Just boxes and boxes of this game.
Probably.
Yeah.
I imagine he just sits there and replays them. And then he ended up actually having kind of like a sad end to his career. He's still trying to make games, but I know that there was a spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness that he's tried to make twice, and it's failed.
Oh.
So this is this weird situation
That
where
is sad. It's almost Too Human.
that
Story is Too Human, Mikey.
That's too well. Even that is just what does that even mean?
His title make no sense,
No.
but it's mysterious and people will buy it.
Oh my God, I know that from a song. That's referential, so people will understand it.
Yes, exactly. Unlike these titles that make no fucking sense.
So we'll move on from Dennis Dyack, but I did just want to give that trip down memory lane because I had all but forgotten about his name until I remembered that this was a Silicon Knights property.
And now you can remember that and be sad.
Now I can remember that and be sad. He did have one quote before we move on.
Oh, good.
That was very prescient.
Oh.
I like this one a lot, actually. And he had some interesting opinions on the gaming industry and journalism specifically, because he got quite a bad rap in the media for a good chunk of his time there in the limelight. But he said, I think in the future, when bandwidth becomes less of an issue, multiplayer games and single-player games will start to merge. Whether it's cooperative or competitive, there will be an online component to most everything. The future of hardware is no hardware.
Oh, wow.
And you think of things like Death Stranding. The future of hardware is no hardware. That doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but is also very true.
Also true. Just two separate points that he made that were really good.
Yeah, you've got things like Dark Souls that are kind of simultaneously online and offline all the time. Even Deathloop, another game that I'm playing right now, is the same way.
If we get into here of every game you're playing right now, we were here for 4 fucking hours.
I did buy the Death Stranding Director's Cut because it was $15 to upgrade.
Wait, you bought something? Is this Papa's purchase?
I mean, I guess it could. By golly, it's Papa's Purchases with me, Papa Mikey.
Get on board. Yeah, it is. It is a Papa's purchase. I paid $15 to upgrade.
I can't. Oh, good. That's good. So, if you're new around here, we have the hashtag Mikey doesn't finish because Mikey doesn't finish video games.
But Mikey do start.
Mikey, very good start.
Mikey, great start.
Just like a Google search. Mikey, good start video game?
Start, question mark? No finish. Exclamation point. Frowny face emoji. I wonder what happened if you did that. So he did have some insight. He was, a figure worth paying attention to. But let's focus now on Eternal Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
The game that we were here to talk about. Andrew, you didn't have a GameCube growing up.
I didn't have a GameCube.
So did you have experience playing this?
No, I didn't, but I the title, I was like, yeah, I know that title. Mm-hmm. And then also I was like looking up the cover art. I'm like, oh, I know this game. But I never got to play it. But I did remember it being spoken fondly of.
So fondly.
Yes.
This game is such an enigma because it was so critically well received and it just didn't sell well at all.
Right.
In Japan, it sold like 17,000 copies, like something atrocious. And it amazes me because mostly what happens is when a game like that exists, that is very well received and critically, but not well purchased. Even Psychonauts, we did that recently.
Yes.
It gets a remake eventually. But the Kickstarter was even put out, and that didn't get backing. And I just don't understand how a successor, spiritual or direct, doesn't exist about this game. It's baffling.
Yeah.
Are you very familiar with the premise of the game, by the way?
No, but I'd love you to tell me.
Okay, so I did play this game.
Oh, I should have asked.
It's fine. I'm used to just having to throw that out there. It's okay. You never ask how I'm doing either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that streak continues. Tell me about the premise of the game.
All right.
I'm joking. Are you okay?
Nope.
Okay,
let's go talk about the game.
Yep.
So it's cool. This game was so far ahead of its time and such a unique premise in a video game as well. I mentioned already the sanity meter and the plays that the game...
Sanity meter?
There is a sanity meter. So there are 12 different playable characters in 4 locations spread across time, and they all kind of interconnect in the story. Having actions from one character in one location can affect another character's story in another location. I would compare it kind of to here's another arcane reference. I just brought up Deathloop, to Dishonored.
Okay.
Where when you play through a map the first time, slightly different, but the way in which you play through the map will affect subsequent playthroughs of different levels. Whether, if you kill people, there's going to be like these zombie things roaming the streets and all that sort of thing. So you do have to be conscious about not just beating a level, but how you beat it and what that might do to future playthroughs across the 12 characters that you play across. And each of them have three meters. There's health, there's sanity, and there's magicka, which I always hate when they say magicka. What is that? What is that? Yeah, why do they do that?
I don't like that.
Is there like they stole from Unreal Engine?
Okay, yeah.
So just borrow from the public domain of magic. I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think with magic. What is the Houdini going to come after you?
You don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want that at all.
No, you don't want that. But it might be good. There's no such thing as bad press, right?
Hey, if Houdini does come after you, punch him in the kidney.
Punch him right in the fucking stomach.
Yeah.
And also do one of those things where you're like, look up, and he's like, yeah, and he looks up, and then just wail on him.
It's like in any regular old boss battle. He's got a blinking red light on his tummy, and that's just where you touch him.
100%. But don't go like, you know what? I'm going to hit him in the stomach. So what I should do is I should chain his hands behind his back so that I could punch his stomach.
Oh, no, you're
playing into his strengths.
And then he's got a chain in his hand.
Yeah. What if I put him inside of like a milk jug?
Wait, what?
Underwater.
Okay.
And that way I know.
A regular sized milk jug?
No.
Oh,
an industrial sized milk jug. What he was in? Those
was
like
it milk jugs?
I think it was something like that. And then put him in the water and go, I know he's there.
Yes.
So that later I can come over there and punch him right in the stomach. Don't do that.
He'll be waiting behind you.
Yeah, he'll all of a sudden
he'll be hanging upside down in a straitjacket, waiting to get you.
And guess what? It's maybe truly most horrifying of all. He knows your card. He knows exactly which card you picked.
You're talking about like your birthday card, right?
Yeah.
I know what it says in there. He used to just hang around the bars, wait for someone to sing happy birthday and be like, $30. You got $30 in that card.
Yeah. Says happy birthday. And you're like, just like, holy shit. This guy. Actually, Harry Houdini is a very fascinating character in general.
Yeah.
And the most fascinating part about him is he hated fakes and frauds.
Yes.
He hated people that were
Like mediums.
He hated people that claimed to be mediums.
Yes.
And the reason is very sweet. It's not like, oh, you're ruining my craft. Is that he loved his mother. And when she died, he so badly wanted to speak to her again and would resent these people that are like, I can talk to her if you want. Like, no, you fucking can't. And would just like ruin these people publicly as much as he can.
Yeah.
I just find that to be a very endearing story. Not like, there's one thing to ruin people, whatever, whether you believe they're doing
I do
right
it all
thing
the
or
time.
not. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to ruin you by saying bad shit on camera for 3 years now.
And yet I persisted.
And yet you persisted.
You ruined people at Overwatch. How's that going, by the way?
You know what? I haven't played in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, I just haven't had any gaming time. I wanted to talk more about Deathloop because I've been loving the game, but I've had like an hour since we last recorded.
Right.
It,
So it's October. We're also putting a freeze on Overwatch.
I'm gonna try.
Okay. What does that mean?
I'm gonna try.
Gonna try what?
Not to play it as much.
Oh, very good. Okay, back to Eternal Darkness.
Back to Eternal Darkness. So you have those 3 meters. The most interesting to me is the sanity meter, as we talked about. Now, I don't want to get
It's not Magicka?
It's Magicka is interesting because they just made such a bad choice in naming it. But in terms of what it does,
do you think it was
pretty
a spelling
straightforward.
mistake?
I think it probably was.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit, did anyone see that A at the end there? It's like, we got to just claim we knew what we're doing.
The sanity effects, let's talk about that. I want to run you through a couple things that this could do.
Oh.
And this, first of all, this game is known as one of the scariest games of all time.
Really?
But I don't think it's necessarily because of pop-out scares, which there are. But it really, I remember playing this as a kid and not being comfortable. I had this interplay between really, really loving the game and not being able to play it. And thinking I can't wait for it to be over. And when I wasn't playing it, I can't wait to play it.
Goodness.
Just, it makes you uncomfortable because even little things like, back in the day, games would reset.
Yeah.
We saved everything to a memory card. Memory card saves would go bad.
Yep.
TVs would get static. The connections with the composite cables were not great. And they knew that.
It's just like modern politics. Corruption.
Oh my God, corrupt data everywhere.
Yes.
Corrupt. And that's why.
That's topical.
That's why this election, vote for the People's Party of Canada.
Oh God.
So little things that it would do. I remember one big one.
Oh.
Back on the old CRT televisions, there was a pretty typical universal volume meter, the neon green that would go up and down. So you'd be playing and all of a sudden the volume you'd see the bar go down. You'd be like, oh shit, I'm sitting on the controller. So you sit down, then you look back up and enemies are attacking you. You're like, oh shit. You'd be walking around a room and you'd go into a room and you'd be looking at it and you're like, wait a second, this is not where the room is. And then the screen would flash and you're in the first room that you were in. You never entered that other room.
Oh
in the
my
first
God.
place. The game would reset sometimes where you'd just be playing it would kind of flash like your GameCube lost power or something.
Yes.
And then when you go to, which could happen.
Like a famous story of Mikey and his grandparents playing Mortal Kombat.
I made it all the way to the
famous.
end and I never beat it because a pathetic fallacy lightning bolt ruined the power at my grandparents' place.
Probably by Shang Tsung himself.
Probably Shang. And I've never forgiven my grandparents for it.
Yes, exactly.
It's their
they
fault.
sold you out to Shang Tsung.
It's their fault. They died like 15, 20 years after that. And I'm pretty sure they deserved it because of that.
100%.
Yeah.
They didn't pay their debt to Mortal Kombat.
Or their grandson.
Yeah. Wow. A blood debt.
A blood debt.
A blood omen. They were the legacy of Cain.
But I do remember, actually, this is kind of sweet.
Okay, that's nice.
I was lucky enough, I don't know if this is lucky or not, but my grandpa wasn't in hospice care quite, but he was like, it was
on the way out.
On the way out. Like we knew that. Thanks.
He has 2 tickets, Prince to Paradise.
And I remember we made the decision not to do hospice and just take him off life support because it was, whatever. And everyone was there.
Yep, that's nice.
And the nurse, I remember when she unplugged the life support, she looked at me and she said, "Finish him." And I ripped his head out and his spine was attached to it.
Your like siblings had friendship banners and they were like, You went with a fatality? We're going to do a babality?
My
maybe
dad
a
had
friendship?
an animality. It was,
He was halfway to turning into Jaguar.
but to be fair, to be fair, my mom did have big metal arms on. She was ready to Jax punch his head into nothingness.
I didn't notice the nurse's 2 extra arms.
We were focused on other things. My grandpa was sick.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about what the nurse is wearing.
Guys, I didn't want to do it too. It's a very specific part of his will. Like, it didn't take any joy ripping his spine from his body.
I do remember before he got to that point, I walked into the room for the first time. I just got back from university.
Right.
This part is actually true, and it's kind of video game related. But I got into the room, like everyone had already seen him, like he was sick. And that is also true.
Okay.
I make jokes to make myself feel better. And
Well, I'm sure he was sick. I'm sure he wasn't just like,
just hanging
no,
out in the
let's just kill him.
hospital.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, no, he seems fine.
So I flew back. I was in Halifax for university. I flew back. I finally got to the hospital. And as soon as I entered the room, he looks up and he says, "Get over here." And he gives me a big bear hug.
The worst part is not knowing when you're going to be serious. Not like, oh, he's telling an emotional story about his grandfather dying. And you're like, nope, it's going back to Mortal Kombat. And whether you like it or not, it's fucking giving back to Mortal Kombat. Well, that was a wonderful, that's a wonderful, it's very in theme for Retrograde. It's about death.
Yeah.
And death is scary.
There's one more story. There's one more. No, this one actually is true, and it's very sweet.
Okay.
So he wasn't actually. I wasn't in hospice, but he was on he was on his way out. That is absolutely true.
2 Tickets to Paradise.
And we were there. Yep. We were there. 2 Tickets to Paradise. We were there in the hospital.
Yeah.
My dad, my brother, my mom, myself. I think my sister was there.
Okay.
Can't remember. A couple other family members because it was close. And my dad was like very sweet. Like you don't see your parents like that very often.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. This is serious.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
I remember
I've been burned before. Sorry.
I've been burned. My dad had put a couple chairs next to each other, next to the bed, so he could kind of like lay down.
Yeah. That's nice.
And he's like, "Hey guys, can you give me the room for a second?" And not in like a weird movie way, but he's like, "Can you give me the room for a second?" We're like, "Yeah." So we leave the room, and he's just in there with my grandpa, and I was the first one back into the room, and I remember walking in and seeing my dad laying down, and they were just holding hands.
That's very nice.
And my grandpa was out. Like, it wasn't, my dad did this. And I remember literally thinking to this day, because I may, I'm getting older, I may never have kids.
Right.
And I remember thinking, at some point, I'm going to get sick.
Right.
And I'll be in a hospital bed.
Yes.
And I worry, and this is something I think about every week of my life, that I'm not going to have someone there to hold my hand when I'm in that position.
Well, that's very sweet, Mikey. Yeah, I obviously I think that fear of being alone, is very, very sad. So that's really nice that you shared that.
And I'm always fearing that I'll be alone in eternal darkness. You don't want to be.
Yeah, well, I think that's where we all end up, right? Eternal darkness.
In eternal darkness. Yeah. That's the end of that story.
Okay.
That's
well, that was very sweet. Thank you very much for sharing that. That must have been very tough for you.
It was all leading up to that.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Well, I guess. Do you want a second or anything? Are you okay?
No, I've been dealing with it my whole life. I'll just move on. I've been podcasting with it on my mind forever. So
wow, you've been thinking about this all the time when you podcast.
Yeah, I barely even register what you say.
Wow,
I'm just thinking about dying alone.
Yeah, I didn't know that was related to the other thing, but yeah, okay.
So other sanity effects. So when you boot up the game,
you're such an asshole. I thought so bad something was coming.
I don't know. I told you I was being serious.
You told me every time you were being serious. And
eventually I was.
Not this time. Next time.
Next time. When you boot back up your game after it shuts down, it says that the save game file has been corrupted.
Oh my god.
So you believe that it's over. Like it's
dirty.
Done. Like a game over. Like they pulled no punches with some of the things that they did, to the point where like video game company, like journalist companies, were making up awards to give to this game because of how unique that game mechanic was. There was like best game mechanic of the year. I don't know. Let's just give it to this because that's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it's so unique that we talked about how The Simpsons Road Rage got sued by Sega.
Yes.
Because of their use of the formula that Sega had patented in Crazy Taxi.
Right.
And we're like, that's bizarre.
We invented how taxis work.
Yeah, we invented this premise. Like, that's so stupid. But Nintendo did patent these sanity effects in a video game.
See, now, but that is unique.
It is.
Like, to four-wall meta-breaking, That is a creative idea. You know, we talk about BioShock all the time. We talked about BioShock recently.
Yes.
And we talked about one of the reasons we liked it was the would you kindly, twist of the game was that you never assumed that there was an unreliable narrator. You never assumed that they would be leading you astray.
No, of course.
Those are rules of the game. I have to do that for this game to advance.
Yeah.
And they twisted on you. This kind of is very similar to that, where it plays into that idea that, this game is not always here for me to beat it. It's here to mess with me.
It like me as the player, not me as the character. I mean, that does go back to the old mentality of irrational games, like we were talking about in last week's episode of System Shock, which we apologize for the score of that. We have been relentlessly beaten. I hate that it came right after we gave a 15.5 to Simpsons Road Rage.
Bad timing.
And yet here we are. I
regret nothing.
I regret nothing. Simpsons Road Rage is fucking amazing.
Amazing. So good.
So that's kind of it. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to ruin too many of the surprises from when we play.
Yeah.
But the reception of this game, this is how I don't understand how this game hasn't gotten more. 92% on Metacritic.
Holy shit.
IGN gave it a 9.6. GameSpot gave it a 9.4. Game Informer gave it a 9.5. In the late 2000s, XPlay and Game Informer both ranked this. Informer. We could do it again.
Okay, cool.
The 5th scariest game of all time.
Whoa!
So that's where this. I know that I remember the one scene was this bathtub scene.
Oh no,
that
bathtub's
was
very scary.
Yeah, a bathtub of blood.
Yeah,
and anyone who's listening and has experienced it will know. We're not going to get there when we play it, but if we did, boy oh boy, would we be scared to shit.
Spooky scary.
So spooky scary. We screamed in System Shock. Let's see if we scream when we play the game. Normally what we would do is rate and review the game out of 4 bits based on our memories of the game when we played it as kids. I have played it, Andrew, you haven't. So what we're going to do is play the game. Then you're going to rate and review it based on what you think you would have thought of it had you played it back in 2002. And I'm going to rate it based on what I actually thought of it when I played it back in the day.
That makes sense.
But before that, we're going to take a break. We're going to go play the game. And once again, if you haven't seen us on YouTube, go follow us over there.
Go.
Check it out. You can watch us play the game rather than just listening to us.
Yeah, you could see the screen that we're playing off of.
And see us yelling and screaming when we're scared to our little britches and boots.
Our britches, our poor britches, it'll be filled with pee.
Sam Porter britches.
We've been talking about this. We hate Retrograde. We don't like being scared. We are not these people. But you know who likes us being scared? You monsters. You are the worst monster. You're worse than a werewolf or a mummy. You're the real monster. So go over there and watch us be scared because, we're going to be scared.
Yep. And we'll see you guys all on the other side.
I guess.
In the fetal position.
Yeah, 2 tickets to paradise.
All right. Okay. Eternal Darkness. So before we got started, I started a game so that we didn't have to go through the beginning because we want to get straight to the straight good. So Andrew, I'll fill you in on what happens.
Yeah, what happened, Mikey?
Game opens.
Oh, okay, good start.
You're in a room. Oh. You're a woman. Okay. Kind of dressed like Buffy the Vampire Slayer would be dressed.
Cool.
You got a gun.
What?
There's a bunch of zombies.
Buffy doesn't carry guns.
Buffy doesn't carry guns.
No.
And then there's a knock on the door, or you get to the door, and then I think there's like a call, and someone's like, "Yo, your grandpa's dead." And she's like, "What?" And she goes to see it. And then there's this cop, and he's like, you have to identify the body. And she's like, right now?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay.
She got other stuff to do.
He's like, follow me into this room. So they go into the room, and there's just a body with a bloody blanket over it. And she's like, how am I supposed to know that that's my grandpa? I mean, it's acted quite differently.
Okay.
But this is what she's saying. And then he's like, lady, I'm just doing my job. I've been doing this for 20 years. I ain't seen nothing like this. And he's 35. Like he's been doing this since he was
Doogie Howser.
He looks really young.
Yeah.
And then he just lets it rip. He's like, guy's missing his head. I don't know what's going on. You're like, missing his head? And then she gets mad at him and says, do your job. We need to find out what happens. And then she goes to the mansion, I think, where he lived.
Okay.
Capiche?
Do you think it was supposed to be like, she looked down, she's like, that's my grandfather's penis. 100%.
Wait. All right.
Okay.
Memory card, slot A. Her name is Alex Roivas.
Roivas. I wonder, was that a family name?
Well, I always, whenever I see a weird looking name, I think, is it something spelled backwards? And Savior is almost savoir, which is like French for to know.
It's almost savior as well.
It is savior.
Well, hey, buddy. How you doing?
Well, I was thinking,
just coming, bringing the heat.
Yeah. The darkness comes.
The darkness comes. That's not how the human body works.
Yeah, I don't think that's where the skull is.
Is that what his grandfather looked like? Can you please identify this?
That's where his head was?
Yeah. He was trying to alien himself.
Okay. So they're trying to get into his own body?
Coming out.
So here's a... I'm running around. You can see how she's dressed kind of like Buffy.
I totally get this. Or Lara Croft.
Oh, man.
Lara Croft.
So the combat is really weird.
I like the atmosphere though, like the little stained glass lights.
Reminds me a little bit of like the mansion in Resident Evil.
Yes, it kind of does.
Whoever animated her punching animation, she's lead right hook.
Yeah, that's the first punch.
Choice.
Yes,
interesting choice.
She's here for a good time, not a long time.
Not a long time.
Get me open that door. I'm gonna punch.
So fucking mad at my grandpa. She hasn't vented. I don't think she's mourned properly yet. I jacked his head, and that's why it's gone. The police officer doesn't know I've got his head with a spine attached to it.
I should have never shown him the movie Alien.
Stop making that noise.
Oh, I don't like this.
This game is very non-handholdy too.
You fucking figure it out.
It hasn't even told us what to do. We're just kind of exploring.
Lens flares. Wow.
Yeah, not bad. Okay.
What a stupid room this is. Why would you have a room like this in your house? What is it there for?
I think it's a kitchen, isn't it?
Is it?
A dining room.
It's a dining room. Oh.
With a little trap mechanism, Andrew. What do you decorate your house with?
I love the idea you'd invite your friends over. They're like, what's in there? It's like, oh, I think you'd like to know.
The only way you'll find it is if you find a sword hidden in my basement.
Do you have a little bit of witch's blood on you?
Okay. So make a mental note of that.
Yeah. We need a...
Swords open doors.
Swords?
Turns out the sword is mightier than the pen because the pen can't do that shit.
This next one's going to be like, find a small pen. And you're like, fuck. Win.
Another room. Turns out
another
these
dining
have a lot
room.
of shit.
Another dining room. Yeah.
Unlit candles. Small shrine of candles. Their placement appears to be very deliberate, matching the etchings on the table and the wall's illustration. The candles are unlit.
Yes. I agree.
Okay.
Confirmed.
Oh, look, a blade.
Oh, a blade. Small in nature that's perfect for sliding indoors.
Is Gladius. All right, another token of eclectic junk. Pick it up, then. Can I swing it? I would love to use it as a weapon.
I'm tired of punching doors. My knuckles are hurting. Again, that seems to be a picture.
Bizarre drawing of a cyclopean city.
It's immense architecture bathed in unnatural fog. The detail is incredible. And as Alex studies it, she can almost imagine the city's inhabitants.
So this is like a narrator. It's not speaking to Alex. It's speaking to us.
Yes, we are both watching Alex.
Yes, us and the narrator. And you and me.
And you and me. And you at home.
Hey, don't watch so closely. Large leather-bound antique book rests upon the cluttered desk. Should Alex read the book?
No.
Yes.
What?
So we're looking now. We're in this BC place. People are speaking English to each other, obviously.
Yeah, naturally. Most of them are white.
Most of them are white.
Do you believe
And their
that it
character
really
models
exists,
are so
Centurion?
weird looking. Their
Yes.
heads
I do
are
not
basically
doubt our
built
Emperor's
into the
beliefs.
helmets.
Yes.
Or his orders.
The helmets look really uncomfortable. Their
We
heads
to
are
retrieve the
exploding out of them.
Yes.
And we must be strong.
The ancient Persians had
their hands.
very thick
And
heads.
patient.
Yes. Well, that's famous, though. So I do appreciate the fine detail of this game trying to go like, hey, we understand that maybe the graphics will not teach you everything we need to show you.
So we're gonna just use your imagination.
You know what? At the end of the day, like, if it's this or you don't really get it, I'm
Yeah.
glad they have this.
Yeah, as an option. I just worry that there's like too much.
Yes. Well, there is a lot.
And that you'll miss something because I'll be too tired to examine everything.
Mm-hmm.
A shaft descends towards the next lower level. A ladder is situated on one side of the shaft.
Well, yeah, we know.
Yeah, that you don't need to explain to me. I see that loud and clear.
You win, Pius.
Pius, touch me.
Alex's grandfather's very proud of you. Oh, this doesn't look so graceful.
Should have chosen the worm.
Oh my god!
Wow, so he's glowing from his eyes. Clearly just got possessed.
He looks like he's having a good time though, which I
Hey.
respect.
Ego death, am I right?
Yeah. Your mouth's God's ears.
Oh, wow. So I'm a zombie now.
I deserve it.
They should see so many instructions in this game. There should have been instructions being like, this is the button you press if you want to be a zombie.
Eons have passed since
What is
then,
that?
and I have learned much.
Turned into a painting.
All at once,
Turned into a painting.
I understood. the forces of the multiverse all made sense under the transcending power of
That was the
Ulion.
resolution?
No
The
mountain
multiverses
too
make sense?
high.
I didn't get that from that.
Oh, you didn't?
city
No.
This is Doctor Strange.
I'm pretty slow. about
Face
this kind of
me.
stuff, though. Where's Spider-Man?
and you shall surely
There she is.
perish.
Spider-Woman.
Yeah, nice. Spider-Gwen.
Alex has acquired the tome of. They said it. Eternal Darkness.
Everyone drink it home. They said the game of the name. The name of the game.
And as Alex picked it up, she truly had a sanity's requiem. Make sure she doesn't move. All right, that's cool. Uh-oh.
I don't like this, Mikey. I don't like this one bit.
You know what, actually? The doors closed and the camera kind of pointed me towards the only open place I could go to, and that was...
And I kind of like that.
Yeah. Oh, no. Dead bodies.
This better not be another problem with skeletons.
Not another corpse god.
Everyone just-
That's like not another teen movie.
Not another corpse god. Not another binding of the corpse god.
Ooh, a time of the day. So the... Oh. So the candles... There's a weird diorama which depicts the time of day, and so do the candles. So it looks like it's morning?
Or... Okay. This floor is glowing.
Engraved in the floor is a striking design featuring the sun sinking below the edge of the world. Yeah?
I love that she's in a room full of dead people. She's like, oh, this is truly striking.
This is... Wow. A striking design. Oh, no. Oh, so you stepped on a trap.
The trap poorly placed.
This is actually, this is where the saying, step on a trap, break your mother's back came from.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Because her mother was a couple feet in front of her?
She was a couple feet in front of her. He's like,
That-
wow,
Yeah, wow.
gotta open this door for you.
Yeah. So we're going to extinguish.
So just X and Y. There you go.
And we're going to...
It's a starry night.
It's a starry
It's a
night.
regular Van Gogh.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
just like a skeleton, that guy cut off one of his ears.
Yeah, can you target ears in this? That'd be cool.
Starry night. All right. So is that the other door or this door?
That was the
this
other one,
door.
but go check the door that just opened.
Is this one?
Yeah.
Was it this one? No. It was this one.
No.
I think so. Unless they both are.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
So another trap room. This one looks different than before.
Seem to be. Well, that camera made me think someone was up.
Oh.
It is up. Oh, there we go. So I just complained about it, and there's the payoff. Okay,
Yep.
I take it back.
So Andrew looked to the left, and there was a pedestal with a blowgun.
Yeah.
Should you take it? I think so.
Fuck yeah,
Oh,
man.
all the enemies are going to jump up right now, I bet.
Uh-huh.
You don't take an ancient thing like that. Oh, a trap. See, I told you, every so often it just fucks you over for doing
Oh
something.
my god. I fell down a hole. And she did it in like a Marvel pose. Oh, it's
And your sword broke?
Oh my god, what a shitty sword.
Secret passage in the temple.
And she's pretty
I'm
happy
sorry.
about
Okay,
it.
wait. Secret passage? You've been in a secret passage the whole time.
Uh-oh.
I love when we step on the box. It's like, so is it here or upcoming? Because
Okay, so you do have to wait a little bit longer in order
it
to
did
get
say
healed.
on the thing you had to.
Yeah,
you have to
don't
stand
move. But
still.
I just figured it had ended. It hadn't.
It's never gonna end.
This is a long hallway. What the
The
fuck?
fuck? We didn't even do anything that time. Oh, and
can't-
now it's blocking your camera view. Now, yeah. Oh wow, nice job, Mikey. In a game that precision control is not great.
Not great.
You got to be precise here.
I'm basing it on sound at this point.
Just like those skeletons.
Just like Daredevil himself. Do I have to heal again?
Oh yeah, you do.
Fucking Jesus.
Of the corpse god. To summon its
Well, Andrew, do you want to let them figure out this corpse god shit? I think we got enough to talk about.
I feel like we did a lot.
Well, I think we did a lot. Yeah, we almost saved the corpse god.
Almost.
Or killed him.
Almost. The only person that could do it is you. And welcome back to the Retrograde.
Oh my god. I'm so scared.
Yes, and that's why we had to not record in eternal darkness. Oh no, the lights are off. Oh my god. They mentioned eternal darkness a lot.
They did.
Yeah.
They mentioned the title of it all the time. It's fun. This harkens back to the era of video games where, like, the stories were sometimes good, but the writing was not very good. Like, they couldn't get... Listen, if there were a novel that Fabio was in,
Yep.
the writer of that book
Yeah.
wouldn't even stoop to the level of writing for a video game.
No, they'd be like, ugh, this is smut.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like, I don't know if I totally am with you on this point though, only because I feel like they very much were like, we have a story to tell. And
story, yes, but just the actual like narration, the actual like text, the syntax, like everything is just very like there was one term that they said at some point. It was like the annals of time or like something weird like that where I'm like, don't say that.
Yeah.
Like everyone says that. Find another way to say it.
I completely agree with you. And like, I don't think they got the tone right in like, it's a narrator explaining somehow what it is to the person, even though we're in the moment doing it. Like there was something about it that just didn't land right, even though I totally understand why they're trying to do it.
Yes.
This is a game steeped, just like tea, in history and mythology.
Wow.
And without that, you are lost. The game will mean nothing to you at that point.
That's true.
So I understand the idea that they're like, if we don't explain it to them, there's only so many plaques we can put there.
Yeah, that's true. They had to say a lot. I did kind of feel like I would have been okay if the only thing
I would have been okay.
I would have been okay. I'm never gonna be okay.
Oh, okay.
Not since my grandpa.
Oh boy, we're talking about it again.
Do we not have time?
I just think, like we gotta talk about.
So
the game.
you and I will off mic.
Yeah.
You'll hold my hand.
Yeah, we'll lie down. Oh my God, that's so sad. Oh, that's so heartbreaking. Beautiful.
No, so I think I would have been okay if every time there was a prompt to examine something, it was less atmospheric and more practical, because it got to the point where like we've been so far removed from that being a novelty of like, ooh, the flowery language to describe what you're looking at, that now it just seems cheap and unnecessary. I'd rather just have it be a bit more bland. And I know you mentioned that you kind of liked the fact that you're like, oh, the textures aren't great, so it's good to kind of like flower this up with your imagination. But the writing wasn't good enough to do that for me now, where I kind of just would have rather had it where it's like, oh, examine, okay, this means something now.
I actually think there might have been a really good example for like sanity meter and stuff like that. That if someone read it to you, like if there was a guy going like, and then when he came down to the thing, and then you could sprinkle in a few weird things that maybe he stops or like skips or references something, or
exactly.
Like, ooh, that's spooky, because it is Retrograde, Mikey.
Yes.
Was this game, from what we saw, particularly spooky or scary?
Not quite. It was atmospheric.
Yes.
But it was similar to when we were playing System Shock, where once you see the enemies, there's nothing scary about it.
More skeletons.
There is a little bit of anticipation of like what's around the corner.
Right.
But I do think that in this era of gaming, it's just hard to get something truly scary. Like, and that, I'm saying that now as someone, and this is what we do obviously on the Retrograde, is we review these games and we analyze them in the modern day. Like Resident Evil 2, the original. 2. You would never scare me nowadays. Never.
No.
But it was terrifying as a kid. It was fucking terrifying.
And the remake, scary.
So scary.
Yes.
And 10 years from now, probably won't be.
No,
it's
laughable.
just kind of what we're used to.
We talked about it. We talked about Blair Witch last week. It's same thing. I don't think it's just video games. I think we can do it across the board.
Yes. Yeah, I think our barometer for what is scary just changes to a point where it just no longer means anything to, it's more cool when the fire flickers and pops and that scares you.
Yeah.
That's fun. I know that there are moments in this that would scare me, and I don't mind that there weren't a ton of them.
Yeah.
I don't need there to be pop-out scares all the time.
No.
I think I'm kind of okay with just walking around feeling like I'm on the edge of my seat every so often.
Yeah.
But I know that the more that the game goes on,
especially with the sanity meter.
Yeah, especially with the sanity meter, the more it starts to play with you.
Yeah.
I'm curious, though. I'd almost want to go back and watch the cutscene with the bath and see if it still scares me or if it's so old that it just wouldn't do anything for me anymore.
Yeah, I wonder, because it was like in the beginning when we're walking around the mansion and you're hearing whispering and you don't know where to go. That was scary. I was like, this is really spooky. But then we go back to like 100 AD and we're fighting skeletons, and I'm like, this is less scary.
Yeah, exactly.
This is very conventional video gamey stuff. And so it gets you into a place where you feel safe, and that's not a place where you can be scared usually.
Yeah, isn't that weird? I was not at all scared in any of the back in time things, but the mansion was a little spooky.
Maybe because we can relate to it?
It's more familiar.
Yeah.
I used to actually, my last condo was just a stone temple.
Really?
Yeah, in the center of downtown Toronto.
Oh, you lived in the Stone Temple?
I lived in the Stone Temple.
Yeah. What were like the maintenance fees? High?
Maintenance fees actually paying for heating was in the winter. It was pretty atrocious.
Steve.
But maintenance, the stone. It turns out stone's pretty sturdy.
Man, we should make more things out of stone.
We should make more things out of stone.
Obviously, this episode is brought to you by Stone.
Big Stone.
Yes. Yeah. Stone USA. Made in the USA.
Big Stone. It's the Big Stone.
So, okay. I'm not ranking high on the spooky scary meter.
No.
But I fear that, first of all.
I fear there's so many things that I fear.
Oh my God, so many things.
I also doubt.
Oh.
The Meryl Streep special.
I have no doubts. That's a great movie. So I fear that that over at the Mushroom Club, over our Patreon, we're going to be playing maybe some more modern games.
Yes.
Some of that. At that point, it's petrifying. It'll swing too wildly the other way.
Because I'm not trying to say this as in like I'm a big, bold, bad boy and you can't scare me because I'm wearing my leather jacket and it keeps me tight and it feels like a hug from my mom.
Keeps me tight.
Keeps me tight.
Keeps me tight. Good for you.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, you're not
because
saying
when I play modern scary games,
yes,
it is atrocious to me. If you haven't heard us playing Five Nights at Freddy back in the day, Five Nights at Freddy's, that game was miserable.
I hated it.
I hated
it.
Hated every second of it.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons.
What was it? Fatal Frame?
Fatal Frame. Hated it for. I mean, that was a game that would have come out around a similar time.
Yeah.
And that was super scary.
That was very scary. You and I sitting right next to each other, or canonically on each other's laps.
Yes.
And in the darkness playing Fatal Frame. And man, you could hear us scream genuinely.
A couple times. Fatal Frame came out in 2001, so it's earlier than this game.
Wow.
And that did scare us. So there's something about Eternal Darkness. I know that there are more moments like that. So I bet if we did go back and watch the bathtub scene, we would be scared.
Okay.
But, having the benefit of having someone else here, we weren't sitting as close to one another as we were when we played Fatal Frame. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I don't want to detract from its score too much based on the scariness, because I don't go to paranormal activity and think, well, this needs to be the scariest thing ever or I'm going to hate it.
Right.
In fact, if it chooses to take a day off,
yeah,
I'm good with that. All the better.
Just calls in sick.
Calls in sick.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Everyone's really pumped.
Because that's when the story really gets
Yes,
to shine.
exactly. I'm more worried about their failing marriage.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that there's enough intrigue in this game, even in the modern day, to get me to be like, yeah, I could play through it a little bit.
Right.
I don't know that I would pick this up over some other games, apart from the fact that it has this legacy of Kane.
Yes.
And I would like to
Raising Cain.
revisit it because I barely remember anything about this game.
Right, yeah. Well, but then there's specific moments you do have.
Yes,
So, it's a little bit tough when it comes to that, too. Well, Mikey, I think we're dancing around it.
I think we're dancing around. Is it time to get to our reviews?
I think it's time to get to our reviews.
All right, so as we mentioned, usually what we do on the podcast is rate and review the game. As we both remember it playing it as kids, Andrew, because you haven't played it or you didn't play it as a kid, you're going to be rating it based on what you think you would have thought of it had you played it back when it came out in 2002. I am going to be rating it based on my memory, but why don't you start us off? Rate it out of 4 bits, and then we'll get to our modern score out of 4 bits.
Okay, so it's an interesting game because it's kind of like ahead of its time. It's trying to tell you a big, deep story that is more scary than just like, something scary. You're like, oh, that's always so scary. But this one's trying to give you some weight to why it might be scary.
Yeah.
Pros, that. Cons, controls, camera. It gets into that like old video game thing where we're trying to make the world really big, so we got to like cut back on other areas.
Yeah.
And it just feels like that. That being said, as a kid, I think I would have enjoyed this because as a kid, it's not like I was like a brave child and then turned into a wimpy adult. I was kind of like this the whole time. So I would have probably looked at this and gone like, well, I'm not going to pick up a straight up horror game. But if I play Eternal Darkness and I can swing a sword and kill some skeletons, some very conventional video game things like we were saying, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, and you're like, that's scary.
Yes.
That would have been much more enticing to me than the whole time like, we're going to fucking scare you the whole time.
That's a good point.
So I think I would have given this actually a good amount of time because these were the kind of games that really hit me at this time of a story that I would have feel invested in and want to, Andrew does finish. And hashtag Andrew does finish.
Sometimes.
So yeah, we'll see. But is feeling right. So I think I actually would have really liked this game. I am going to give this a 3 out of 4.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I like that. I agree with you. I think at the time that I was playing it, I was amazed at the story. because video games were still making strides in terms of storytelling. And this one just felt like such a big swing. It felt like it was momentous in the way that like I had to play it because everyone was talking about it. And the only thing I loved more than video games as a kid was the industry of video games and the world around video games.
Yes.
So when everyone was talking about something, I had to play it. I had the GameCube, so I got to. But
Mugatu.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Don't you know milk makes me farty and bloated?
That's the line.
That's the line.
That's
the
so
line.
funny.
I as much as I enjoyed the swing that this game was taking, as much as I liked that it was bringing video games forward in terms of their narrative storytelling, and it had that Crash thing that everyone loved back then of so many stories and storylines and will they intertwine. At the end of the day, I couldn't finish this game because I was too scared. So I loved what it had to offer, but it was too much for me. And we have to stress this, as we always do. Our retro scores are very subjective. We're little kids. We were not journalists.
So our current scores are so incredibly subjective.
That's also very true, too. We would point to The Simpsons Hit and Run versus System Shock 2 as an example.
Come at me.
No, but that is an objective truth. Hit and Run is a better game than System Shock 2.
Yes, in 2021,
Yes,
absolutely.
That is a legitimate fact.
Entirely.
Yes.
I'd love to see, if you disagree with us, which many of you do,
Oh, we know.
we see you. Make your point. I'd love to hear why.
Yeah,
I struggle to see when put next to each other, and we're not like we're not idiots. Like we do like System Shock. I understand there was depth to it, but like in 2021,
yeah.
Okay,
You'd rather play I would rather play Hit and Run over Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I would rather play BioShock over System Shock. And I know that those are they're two, they vary in terms of.
Now you're just doing a bracket of the best game of all time. I'd play this one over this one, and this one over this one, and then all of a sudden the best game of all time.
How old do you have? No, but I do love that is the best game of all time. I do love Hit and Run, and I stand by it. But this one, to get back to my review, I kind of disagree with you. I think the cameras. And the camera and the controls weren't terrible. I thought they were kind of good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Especially for the era. Not to the point where they got in the way. I think they did what they could with the technology, and they found a way in terms of the overall mechanics to take the camera controls out of your hand.
Yeah.
And that worked for me. It was fine. Kind of like what God of War would do. But because I couldn't finish it and I couldn't get that much farther, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 4 as well.
Okay.
And I know it deserves more than that.
Okay.
But as a kid, it was just too much for me to handle.
Yeah.
And I have to speak for the wusses out there standing up and giving us a voice.
Yes.
I wasn't always, I mean, you mentioned you've always been like that.
Yes.
I haven't always been like this.
What's this?
The cool bad boy that everyone knows and loves to hate.
Oh, the last part came around on that one. Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah. No. Yeah, okay.
I'm the Jake Paul of podcast. No. Wait, no. Don't pull on that thread.
Okay.
Don't pull on that thread.
No, so you're giving
Fuck you, Tyrone Woodley. I'm kidding.
You get a tattoo.
Yeah.
You got a 3. I got a 3. That is a 6 out of 8.
6 out of 8.
That's a pretty good score there.
Pretty good score.
Okay, let's do our modern day reviews. Okay, I will begin.
Okay.
You know what? This was a fun game.
Yeah.
This was a fun game. I enjoyed the story. I think the controls and camera maybe are not abysmal. Maybe they're passable.
Yes.
I wouldn't say anything great about them, but they're passable.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And the story has a lot of depth to it, and I could find myself being very interested in going back and playing this and learning all about the lore that what's his Dennis Dicus? Dyack.
Yeah.
Wants to go back and redo because he's like, I got more to say.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, okay. That's pretty good. It makes me think I actually would really enjoy this game going back and playing it and playing it to completion and seeing all the scary things and, would they still affect me or not? I'm going to give this a 2.5.
Amazing.
It's not like that's not a great score, but at the same time, games like this of this generation usually are the ones that get on the shit list pretty fast. And this one stands up.
Yeah, I agree with you. At first when I started and I felt the controls in the cam, at first I was petrified. I was still petrified. Fucking zombies and clocks that I don't understand. This one reminds me a lot of System Shock. Like not in terms of the actual gameplay, but when I first started out, I was like, great, let's try it. And then I felt the controls. I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And then eventually I sunk into their monotony.
Yeah.
In a way that didn't interfere with my enjoyment of the game. It just kind of dulled it in a way where, like, nowadays the controls of a game make it better.
Yeah.
In this, it was just, okay, this is a device I need to further the narrative, and it doesn't hurt to play, so it's okay. But I do also think that there are better narrative games, horror games or otherwise. The one unique thing about this that you can't take away is the patented sanity meter, and I think that's very fucking cool.
Sanity meter.
It's very cool. And I'm there with you. A 2.5 is my score as well.
Okay.
And I want to give it a little bit more than that, but ultimately I kind of know I'm not going to go back to it. If you asked me 30 minutes into our gameplay, I think I may have been like, yeah, I think I might continue to play this game. But there's only so much trudging around the depths of a weird temple that I'm like just slowly avoiding traps for no reason other than to give you something to look out for getting from point A to point B. You know, that was the era of video games when they just needed to have fighting and traps and platforming of some sort. And nowadays, I think in the era of walking sims, games are more comfortable just being what they are and not expecting you to use poor mechanics to achieve something.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So 2.5, that's a 5 out of 8. For a 5 and a 6, for 11 out of 16. You know what? Okay.
It's okay. I think a lot of people are going to think that that's a low score.
Yeah.
And I think this I also understand, because if you love survivor horror games, and you did back in the day, and you have that fondness for it, and if you've played it before and now playing it in the modern day, you know all the beats. You're not going to get stuck on arbitrary puzzles the way that we were, because we were trying to remember our way through it. I could see how you might enjoy it more than a 2.5.
Yeah. No, I get there. I actually am pleasantly surprised. I thought Eternal Darkness was a fun game.
Yeah.
And that was really good. So that is our second chapter of Retrograde. Very scary. Very scary. We got some more scary games coming up soon.
We do.
We got some exciting guests coming up soon that we're going to
hell
be.
Yeah, baby.
It's, you know what? The only thing to do when you're scared, and it's only more fun than that, is being scared with other people.
Oh, yes. It's the only time I want to be scared, because then I can focus on something else.
Yes, other people.
Other people.
And how scared they are. Am I more scared than they are? Am I less scared than they are?
I'm usually more scared than they are. That's usually my MO.
Well, for that attitude and many more, we got the future of Retrograde coming up, where you can see us be little scaredy cats.
Little scaredy cats. But I'm also afraid to find out what awards this game wins, because what if they're like spooky themed this time around? Which I'm realizing would have been a great idea for us to do for Retrograde.
Remember that for February.
February, indeed.
Yes.
So let's let the oboes warm up. We can hear the orchestra, and then we'll get to the awards.
Throw in oboes.
You've been waiting for it all year. The most glamorous award ceremony of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Grady's.
Oh wow.
It's beautiful sound. Beautiful
It's
sound.
funny because you can hear the oboes. Now that you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, I got it.
Those are oboes
coming through
aren't they?
clutch.
Coming through, clumming through, strumming through.
Oh, just beautiful.
It's just beautiful. Elliot, equally as beautiful. He's dressed up as a corpse god.
Yes, you are. Wow, look at you.
Gotta
That's
ask.
Disgusting.
I mean, he's equally as sinewy as normal, because he's in great shape. But to a point, I think he's overdone it.
Yes.
Elliot.
You know those like weird ripped people?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like they're thin still, and you're like, what's going on here?
Where it looks like they don't have skin but beef jerky instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go to that exhibit at the museum where it's everyone but without skin, but that's what they look like.
Yeah,
already?
exactly.
Yeah.
If you throw tanning oil on those, then that's exactly what Elliot would look like right now. Elliot, why don't you reach into that, what do they call that little Roman garb thing you got, that metal skirt that they wear?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's got pockets. Someone there reach in there and tell us the awards this game's won.
It's got pockets.
Crickets.
Oh, wow,
Crickets.
crickets.
Crickets again.
You gotta be kidding.
This is the second week in a row with crickets.
Oh my gosh.
The goddamn mediocrity is what we got.
Right. So
what we got to do is we got to make up awards for this, or not make up.
No, we don't make.
We
make
get
them up.
you and I get.
You've been making yours up.
Have you been getting handed real ones?
Yes.
Why have mine been so much better than yours? Andrew, why don't you give your award, your special award that this game has won?
Oh, this one's called 2022 AD.
Oh,
that's the name of the award. Because there is more to be told about this game.
Whoa.
Ominous.
Wow. This game, to me, in the envelope that I have, it's a weird sounding paper.
That's a weird sounding paper.
They bought it in papyrus.
Is it on human skin like the corpse god?
Exactly.
That makes
it's
sense.
like beef jerky. Actually, Nope, human skin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This game wins the Dennis Dyack to the future because I would love to go into the past and play this as it was meant to be played back in 2002. Alas, I was too afraid.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So those are 2 good awards for a game that we pleasantly surprised and enjoyed.
Yes. I was hoping I would like it more, to be honest.
Yeah.
But hey, listen. Controls. 2002 was not a great era for games aging.
Yes. Yeah. We're in a post 9/11 world. Things were tough.
Actually, this game got delayed because of 9/11.
Well, there we go.
It's no, that's actually true.
No, I believe
because there was a whole point to the game that was in an Arab country, and you were a Knights Templar going around, and they just didn't think that was a great thing to be doing at that point. So they had to change all of those set pieces and the Templar.
Whoa. Do you think they're Romans now?
I think it was something like that.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. If you had thoughts about Eternal Darkness, we would love to hear from you at Retrograde Mikey, at Retrograde Andy, or catch us over on our Patreon, patreon.com/The Retrograde Podcast.
Hell yeah, baby. And one more plea from the bottom of our hearts. We love to say it because it really does help us out. Leave us a rating and review, guys. It goes a long, long way. Last month in September, we had a ton of growth, and it's thanks to you guys going out there and leaving reviews. If you haven't done so yet and you've listened to an episode, come on.
Please.
Don't make me beg.
There's only so much we can ask for. We love you.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you. All right. Thank you so much for listening to the Retrograde Podcast. We love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Scary. Thank you so much for listening to the Retrograde Podcast.
We look forward to recording this podcast all week long, and we hope you guys look forward to listening to it.
You know how we got into retro video game podcasting? For the money and the babes? We're really in it for the ratings and reviews.
Money is ratings. Reviews are babes.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you enjoy podcasts.
For any business inquiries, you can always email the retrogradepodcast@gmail.com.
You can find us on Twitter at RetrogradePod.
And you can find Andrew on Twitter at RetrogradeAndy.
And then Mikey at Retrograde Mikey.
Instagram at the Retrograde Podcast. And remember, find us on Patreon, patreon.com/the Retrograde Podcast for all of your non-essential but very much enjoyable content.
Between Twitter, Instagram, and everything in between, we've grown a great community. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It's like a weird hippie commune where we all have jobs and we might have sex with each other.
And sometimes we kill Sharon Tate.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Join the Mushroom Club. We'll show you how it goes.
You guys do this stupid podcast first before we interlock scissor.